Hey guys, it's the end of the month of May. Coke 600 is upon us, and as usual, silly season is preparing to kick off. So, in this episode, we're going to be talking about some rumors, some reports, and a lot of speculation about this upcoming NASCAR Silly season. Where some of your favorite drivers might be going, who might be retiring, what new opportunities might be available, and what current drivers might be looking for just some fresh air over at a new team. So let's talk about all of this and more in this episode of Running with the Pack here this Thursday afternoon. Okay, so yes, as we said in the intro, we are going to be talking about, I guess we should start with the report that is essentially all but confirmed. It kind of popped up as a rumor last week, and then Bob Pockers over at Fox Sports was reporting it as a done deal, almost. I wouldn't say, I would hazard saying that yet, mainly because of the implications, but it sounds like it is highly likely that Brad Keselowski is going to leave Penske to go over to the Roush Fenway team and actually become a part owner of the team and ultimately renaming it to Roush Fenway Keselowski Racing. So it sounds like that is going to end up being a move that sounds like it's more than likely going to happen. Just kind of comes down to, is Newman ready to retire? When Newman's ready to announce potentially a retirement, if this does end up happening. And really, that's kind of the first big report that we've kind of had, and that came last week. That was kind of our first big report of a move that we've heard actually reported. Something that kind of, I think, has kind of been a little bit forgotten about though last year was and I did a video actually on the channel on it, was what's going on with the Penske plan over at the 21 car. Because they signed De Benedetto for this year, but they also simultaneously announced that next year it'll be Austin Cindric driving that number 21 car. So if Keselowski's out of the two, does that open that up as a potential ride for De Benedetto? I don't know. Would De Benedetto want to stay with a team that was willing to move him for Cindric and essentially willing to leave him without a ride option and leave him looking, especially for a team that could have easily expanded maybe to a fourth full-time car if needed to keep De Benedetto around? I wouldn't be overly thrilled if I was Matt De Benedetto to hear that, hey, we have an option to, to at least see throughout the season, yeah, we could wait and see if we can get you in a fourth car, and not sign a deal yet with Cindric. Because Cindric, I mean, he never had to worry a huge amount because his dad is the team president over at Team Penske. Like it or not, he will likely never have to worry about having to rush to get a contract done, especially not in October or November of the previous year, before the NASCAR championship is even decided. Definitely does not need to be panicking at that point, especially when Xfinity Series deal is still very much a competitive option. I mean, he's already won in Xfinity this year a couple of times. Definitely going to be a championship favorite. He's already making starts in the Cup Series in a fourth Penske option. That'd be another option. It would be to just kind of wait and see how these starts go. See if you want to bring him straight into Team Penske. But ultimately, they signed him to the 21, so I'm assuming that will still happen. So Cindric will be in the 21 for at least 1 year prior to coming over to the main Team Penske. Where else De Benedetto could go, and this is where we really delve into a lot of speculation, and honestly, very little of this is grounded in much more than just kind of reports. So We know that there's lots of teams looking to maybe expand because, really, for the most part, unlike all other major sports, like right now, we don't know necessarily where most of the drivers' kind of contract deals are at right now. So, like Larson, I believe, is on a 1 year deal, probably with the way he's performing and the fact that he could likely go out and dominate Charlotte this weekend. Probably not going to have to worry about him getting a deal as long as he continues to keep up his public image and attract sponsors over time. So I wouldn't worry too much about Larson getting a deal done. Bowman, he's got 2 wins already. Supposedly they're already in working on a contract extension. So fingers crossed that Ally likes what they're seeing with Bowman now, and will hopefully stay with Bowman for the foreseeable future, because I think that could be a very solid pairing. Maybe not a dynasty like what Hendrick Motorsports has seen for years with Jimmy Johnson and Jeff Gordon, but could certainly be a very solid driver, the likes of a Kurt Busch, a Brad Keselowski, for example, who's they're able to contend for championships fairly regularly, race wins, 2 to 3, maybe even more a season if he has a really good year, and a good shot again at making those championship fours and competing for championships. I think that's a real future that Hendrick Motorsports and Alex Bowman could have, and that's really something we haven't seen from all 4 cars at Hendrick Motorsports since about, I don't think we've ever seen a 3 or even 4 car Hendrick team where realistically all 4 could be contending for race wins and championships consistently, outside of 2007 with Kyle Busch, Jimmy Johnson, and Jeff Gordon. And even Casey Mears picking up a win there at Charlotte that year. But so that would be one I'm looking at. I can't imagine Chase Elliott doesn't already have a deal signed, or at the very least that he won't get one done with Hendrick Motorsports. Hendrick Motorsports would be absolutely crazy to let the reigning champion go. William Byron, he's already won a race this year. He's just had his top 10 streak put to an end with an 11th place finish, but I mean, still 12 top 11 finishes in a row from Daytona, or from Homestead, I mean, all the way through to Dover, and then obviously Circuit of the Americas being the breaking point for that streak. An absolutely amazing run for such a young driver as well, William Byron. I'd want to try and keep that team together if at all possible. I'll kind of hurry up a little bit because I think some of these other teams, most of these guys are pretty much on multi-year deals, or at the very least won't be going anywhere. MTJ, I believe he's still in the middle of a multi-year extension, and he's also won 3 races already this year. I don't think he's got anything to worry about. Denny Hamlin coming off one of his best seasons of his career. Came up slightly shy of the championship and hasn't won yet this year, but he's been super consistent. He's probably going to be staying. Kyle Busch has now won already this year. He managed to get a win last year. M&M's is still there. I don't really see any real signs that Kyle Busch is unhappy to the point of leaving Joe Gibbs Racing yet. Maybe another year or 2 of underperforming. Maybe he looks at it. And Christopher Bell, I don't see them wanting to really move him yet, because honestly there isn't really a whole lot of Toyota drivers ready to move up. And that moves on to our kind of another Toyota team, 2311 Racing, and their potential expansion. I don't think they'll, for better or for worse, I don't think they're going to get rid of Bubba yet. So I think they're going to keep Bubba for at least one more season, if that isn't already a done deal. And if for nothing else, sponsors seem to really like him. Then you go on to their potential expansion, and that's where we delve into the whole charter system, and will they run a second car without a charter? I don't know, but I think if they do pick up a second car, even if it isn't for the full season, if it's just to try and start working their way up to a full fleet of 4 cars at some point, I'd say that's where you might see some Toyota drivers maybe get some chances. Examples being Ty Dillon, who's been driving for Toyota a fair amount in Xfinity this year, though he'll be driving a Chevy this weekend at Charlotte Motor Speedway in the Xfinity Series race. Harrison Burton, who's been a full-time championship contender in Xfinity, though I don't think he's ready for Cup yet. That could be an option if he and his sponsors decide they want to try and get him to Cup. Same situation with Brandon Jones. If Rheem decides that that they want Brandon Jones on the Cup Series, and if they can make it financially work for the team, I don't really see too much holding Brandon Jones up. Not necessarily sure he's ready for the jump. Daniel Hemrick, I mean, he could jump to any series right now, but I think it's going to take some wins in Xfinity to really keep him at a competitive ride of any real kind. So, those would be some of my main picks for the Toyota seat. Also, Matt DiBenedetto, again, with his opening, could be one to look going into this, but I wouldn't say that's a slam dunk by any stretch of the imagination. Especially since we don't even know that the seat's happening. One new car that we do know is for sure happening is Colleague Racing. They are going to be running the full 2022 schedule in the Cup Series. I talked about this at the time. I think Allmendinger would be my personal choice for a stable opening season. Maybe you bring Justin Haley up instead because of if sponsors prefer him. He's also a little bit younger, so if you're looking to build up around a driver for the long term, that's definitely an option. I would just rather. I mean, I'm a big Allmendinger fan, but I also think the stability and the road course skills he can bring to the track. I mean, we saw it in the Cup race at Circuit of the Americas. Allmendinger with a top 5 finish there at a brand new road course, able to really help build that booklet of potential notes. Then we start looking around other Chevy teams. Ganassi Racing. I doubt Ganassi lets go of Chastain, and realistically, I think it's possible that Kurt Busch could retire, but don't be fooled by that fake that parody Twitter account from NASCAR that was trying to fool everybody and actually did fool a lot of people into thinking Kurt Busch should announce his retirement. Kurt Busch has not announced a retirement yet, though I wouldn't be overly surprised if he does. If he does announce his retirement, I could see one of the colleague drivers, the current colleague drivers, Jeb Burton or Justin Haley, potentially going up to that seat if they don't get the colleague racing ride. Looking around other Chevy teams, RCR, I don't think they want to change anything. I think they want to just build on what they've already got with Reddick and Dillon. Dillon obviously is not going anywhere, and Reddick has been very stable for that team as well. Both of which are currently in the playoff picture as well. Then we go over to the then we look at teams like Rick Ware Racing. I think they're still going to be rotational drivers. That's not going to be a very important seat. Those aren't going to be super important seats to talk about, at least in the short term. I think they're still going to be a few years away from competitiveness. The JTG Doherty cars, I don't really see any reason for them to feel like it's time to move Stenhouse or Priest, assuming the sponsors are okay with them. I mean, obviously there's the question mark of only one charter. Can they maybe pick up a second charter or even lease a second charter from somewhere? Like Spire Motorsports has 3 of them. So maybe they can lease one of Spire's charters, though Spire's already leasing a charter to another Chevrolet team, which we'll talk about now, with Trackhouse Racing, Trackhouse Racing, I think Suarez, I think that group is just going to try and build on what they've built this year. So I think they're going to just try and work to try and find a charter and get of their own that they can control. So they don't have to worry about continuing to re-up leases every year with different teams for charters. So as of right now, I would say that would be the game plan for that team. And again, I think Priest and Stenhouse will probably stay there at least one more year, assuming that they can find the sponsorship and or a charter to help get them back to 2 full-time cars that are guaranteed in the races each week. And I think that's all the Chevy contingent. So then we'll jump back over to Roush for a minute. Stuart Haas Racing, that's a big question mark just off of one. They've got a big question mark on one driver, but they really don't have anybody ready to replace him. So I would say that their best deal would be to either get De Benedetto or to keep Eric Almirola there. They're 2 young drivers, Custer and Briscoe. I think those are both value drivers in the long run. And at the very least, they're some of the best young drivers in the Ford market at the moment. I think it'd be hard to really poach many Ford development drivers away, or a potential Ford development driver from Chevy or from Toyota. And down in trucks, it's like, I mean, maybe Todd Gilliland's ready for the jump, though I'd say maybe put him in Xfinity for a year or 2 before you move him to Cup. Same with Ben Rhodes as a potential... oh, wait, no, Ben Rhodes is in a Toyota now. Never mind. I was thinking Ben Rhodes was still in a Ford. Never mind. But yeah, so Todd Gilliland potentially for a Ford driver that they could maybe work on bringing up and not putting all their eggs in just Hailie Deegan's basket, because she is not ready yet for Cup by any stretch of the imagination. So I would say, though, if I'm Stuart Haas, I want to try and keep this team as close to the same as possible and just hope that Almirola picks up the pace. It's just really a question mark on what is going on with that team right now. But I would say, for the most part, they don't want to change much up because, again, Custer and Briscoe are their future. So, then we go to Roush, Fenway Racing. We already kind of mentioned Keselowski likely going over there. And if he does, it sounds like that would be at the expense of Newman either retiring or going somewhere else. I would definitely place a lot of money on retiring if he is not at Roush next year. Or at the very least, dropping down to a part-time level like Brendan Gaughan did for a while. And just picking and choosing tracks where he really enjoys the racing at. Though, again, wouldn't be overly surprised if he just outright retires. Chris Buescher, they have zero reason to be to not already have that guy signed, especially now that they've got sponsorship for the 17 car with Fastenal through for a few more for long term. So I would say that definitely would be a driver you should have a contract in his hand already. And I think we've been through most of the field. We've already been through Penske, Wood Brothers. I guess Spire Motorsports, I would keep Corey LaJoie there and keep the 77 as a rotational car. In all reality, I would like Spire Motorsports to give up one or both of their extra charters and focus on the one car with Corey LaJoie to try and build up for the long term. Though, again, it's kind of one of those situations. When you have a charter, you don't want to give it up. Let me see. Any other teams that we haven't talked about yet? Front Row Motorsports. I don't really see any reason to get rid of Alfredo, and certainly no... Now, big bias here. I'm a big McDowell fan. No reason to get rid of McDowell. He's your Daytona 500 champion. He's making a playoff run for you. And honestly, he's still in the playoffs on points. Like, discount the win and you're in thing. He's still in the top 16 on points. So, you definitely don't get rid of McDowell. Alfredo's definitely struggled this year as a rookie, but you got to remember it's his first full-time season of any level of NASCAR, so I definitely wouldn't say that that is a massive downside. Now, maybe you look at moving him into your Truck Series program, bringing Todd Gilliland up if Stuart Haas isn't already talking to him. I'd say maybe make that swap between their truck team because Gilliland drives for Front Row in trucks. Maybe make that swap just to give Gilliland some cup time as well and get Alfredo some more experience down in the lower series. But yeah, I think that's pretty much all the active teams, at least. Gaunt Brothers Racing, I think, will stay part time. Like a lot of the other teams that we've seen, MBM, I think they will continue to try and get Timmy Hill into a lot of races. But yeah, so I think that's most of the active teams. Another team that could provide some drama, and it really just kind of depends on what they end up deciding to do, and that's Junior Motorsports. Because you got Junior Motorsports who it sounds like may come to Cup if they can find a charter for that team. Now, again, charters, they're very scarce. Though it sounds like Rick Ware might be willing to give up one of his for another team. So I guess Michael Jordan versus Dale Jr. bidding war there for that one between 2311 and Motorsports on who gets that. I don't see Colleague really being able to compete with either of those teams for bidding wars for charters. So I think if Junior does go to Cup, I think they will likely bring Noah Gragson or maybe Justin Allgaier if they do see the value in the experienced driver. I think one of those two, though, would be a very solid pick for Junior Motorsports emergence into the Cup Series. So, and I think that is officially all the teams that are looking at Cup options for 2022. So, oh man, a lot of teams. Apologies if I went through some of those very quickly, but I don't think a whole lot of those are changing, and I think of the ones, like, there's very little that's been announced, but I think it's getting ready to pop off. I think I'm going to just go through real quick and say what I think is going to happen, and then we'll end off this video. I do have some other generic channel stuff, though, that I'm going to be announcing here at the end of the episode, so if anybody is curious about that, feel free to stick around. But for Toyota, I don't see them changing anything over there. 2311, I do see them getting a second charter. I would say Burton will probably get the nod to go up to Cup. So it'll be Bubba Wallace and Harrison Burton over there as the 1-2 combo. I think assuming that the Keselowski or Roush thing happens, I think Roush will end up with Keselowski and Busch as a 2-car team for now. And I think DeBenedetto will stay at Penske and actually move over to the 2-car, especially if he can find victory lane here soon. That'll help a lot of those conversations along, especially if Keselowski has already essentially signed the deal, like it sounds like people are talking about it as. So yeah. Stuart Haas Racing, I think they will stay the same for at least one more year just because Amarola is probably your best available driver on the market unless a big name driver does get dropped from a existing contract. I just don't see where you'll find a better at the very least short-term driver while you wait for someone like a Haley Deegan or maybe even Riley Herbst to turn it around, though I'm not entirely confident in Herbst's long-term prospects. Though we've seen drivers like Suarez struggle for a while and eventually find their footing. Trackhouse, I think that'll stay the same. I think most of the areas you're going to see a lot of the shuffling up is where we've already heard it on store, heard it talked about. I think over in the Ford camp, the Roush, Penske, Wood Brothers shuffle is where you're going to see the most movement. And then it will just come down to charters for 2311 and Junior Motorsports. And obviously Colleague, who's coming to Cup as well. And the potential retirement of Kurt Busch, though I don't think Kurt's going to retire this year. I think I think he wants to drive the next gen car for at least one season. So, yeah, that's pretty much all for the silly season stuff. Just some quick notes for channel stuff. If you guys want to support the channel, I'm gonna start actually promoting my Patreon again. I started to promote it a while ago, but I finally have actually gone and decided to actually put time into making it somewhat better. So if you guys do want to go check that out, there'll probably be a link in the corner of the screen, or you can go down to the description and find it. But you'll get your name featured in the list over there. You'll have your name pictured over in that list at the end of all these episodes. At the end of every Running with the Pack video, as well as your name will also be featured on the broadcast, as well as other rewards for other tiers. You guys, again, can go check all that out at patreon.com/rdyer, or go down to the link in the description. But outside of that, that was kind of the big thing I wanted to announce. I've also launched a new t-shirt design over at Teespring, so again, link in the description. But outside of that, enough selling out. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Leave a like on the video if you guys did enjoy, and I will hopefully see you guys in the next video, live stream, or whatever you decide to do for the rest of your day. Have a great day, everybody, and goodbye!